Welcome, everyone, to Mongols Pregame'n Edition. This is where we spend just a few minutes chatting with the team prior to the next matchup. Joining me for this one is our first player in our three-timer club for a single season. We always love talking to him. It's Robbie Mertz. Robbie, how's it going, man?
Doing well, Mike. Thanks for having me on again. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, like I said, man, love talking to you. Last time we talked, it was July. We had literally just broken out of our scoreless rut with a 5-0 win over Oakland. Since then, we've played 13 games and we've only lost once. What has changed?
I think that's a good question because I think there's a lot that goes into it. Obviously, every season, and I think if you look back on Bob's tenure here, we've had teams that have kind of started slow and found their stride. Like the team I was on in 19, my rookie year, we started slow. It didn't put us in as precarious of a position as we've found ourselves this year. But then I can remember around the same time as this season, we found our stride and went on an unbeaten run. And so I think there seems to be something there with the way things kind of come to click for teams under Bob. And I think that's been the case with this team. We've come together and kind of found somewhat of a rhythm and gotten everyone on the same page, and that's paid dividends on the field.
I can't remember if I asked you this earlier in the season, but this might just sort of be a rephrasing of a repeat question. Last season, you guys sort of were hot and it felt like kind of stayed hot for most of the season. You ended with the Players' Shield, but then obviously stumbled once you got to the playoffs. In previous years, and what we've seen is sort of the formula for some teams in the USL is maybe you have a bit of a rockier season, but if you get hot at the right time as you're heading into the playoffs, it actually favors you. Do you have a preference? If you had to choose sort of one or the other, which way do you think that you would lean? Sort of like have a really, really great season, end with Players' Shield, bow out of the playoffs, or maybe struggle a little bit and have a better chance at making a run at the championship?
It may sound strange. I would choose last year the way things played out. I think this year has been different and had a lot of times where we've questioned ourselves, and it hasn't been easy all the time, to be completely candid. Whereas I think last year we felt really good about the progress we were making the entire year, and it really came down to 90 minutes in October. And so I would give that team another chance. And I think we could have, everyone's talked about this enough at this point. It's been a year, but I think if you gave us another chance, we could have done a lot better with it. And so I think you really do want ultimately a team that's done it for longer. That being said, when you find yourselves on a streak, if you want to call this a streak, but just in good form, in better form, that can give a team a ton of confidence. And right now we know that we can play with anybody. So I think last weekend was a big confidence booster, but we've had other games as well on this stretch that have taught us that. And so that's something that can cause danger and problems for other teams in the playoffs. And I would prefer the one over the other, but I think both can certainly have their merits and can take you far.
Yeah, for sure. Just yesterday, Nicholas Murray posted on the USL's website an article called One Key Figure for the 5 teams battling for the Eastern Conference playoff race. He named you specifically for the Hounds, along with your 2 goals, or your goal and 2 assists in the last 3 games. I know how much you love when people sing your praise like this. What did you read the article, and do you have thoughts on being singled out like that?
I did not read the article. I did see the article, so I knew that it happened. I didn't read it. Obviously it's always nice to get, I think, individual recognition. I don't think anybody would shy away from that, but on this team more than any other team, it's not about the individuals. Everything that we've done this year has been team. When we were struggling to score goals, when we were losing games, it was about the team. And now that we're doing better and we put ourselves in a better position to make the playoffs, it's about the team. We've gotten ourselves collectively out of that rut, and whatever we do from here on out is also going to be about the team and the way that we function cohesively as a group, the way that we defend together, the way that we control the game collectively, and ultimately those are going to be the things that get us into the playoffs. It really it doesn't matter so much who is putting the ball in the back of the net or making the plays. It's really about the overall team performance. I think that's what we've learned and what we need to lean into for these last couple games.
Yeah. Sticking on you individually, just for one more question here. Last time we talked, you had mentioned we were talking about positioning and how you were basically playing off the right a lot early on in the season. And then you had some success sort of popping up in spots. You were saying how you like to sort of find those gaps and pop up in those gaps. It seems like in the past few games, you've been much more central and even off to the left a bit. I'm just curious, has that shift been strategic? Like that's an approach the team is trying to take, or is that you identifying gaps and that just happens to be where you're spending more time on the field?
Yeah, that's a good question and great, I think, recognition of kind of what's going on. I think I would say that a big factor with it, this has not been explicitly said by any means, but just I guess my own conjecture is that with Bertine coming in and making obviously such a big impact, and just with kind of what he brings to the table, we've kind of more relied upon him in the right on the right. And so that's just kind of enabled me to go other places. I think in the way we're setting up tactically, and yeah, I mean, I think I said it before, and I do prefer being in those central areas. And I think like if you look at my goal last weekend, I think that's a good example because I wasn't able to be like necessarily picked up or tracked by like any one player in their back line, and just a little bit of anticipation, and I found myself in the right area to where the ball was popping free. And yeah, I prefer it, but again, like I've been able to play on kind of all sides of the field this year and in different roles, and I think I've found myself getting comfortable in each of those areas, so it doesn't really matter so much. Obviously, I think every player has their preferences, but whatever whatever it takes, of course. So
Yeah. As fans, it feels like every game over the past few months has been treated almost like it's a championship game and that it's like a must win. Has it felt that way internally, or are you guys much more level headed than we are?
I would say, yeah, it has felt that way internally. I felt like, if you ask myself probably and Danny Griffin in particular, maybe I guess just vocally in the locker room pregame and that sort of thing, the guys who are speaking up the most, like it was sort of got tough for a while because you're running out of things to say. Like every game, it seemed like we're saying this is do or die, this is our season, and everyone was responding well to that urgency and still has. But that's been the fact of the matter is like we've played a lot of big games, and there were many games where I genuinely felt like we needed to get the result. Otherwise, we risked kind of putting ourselves out of it, and we managed more often than not in those games to get the results we needed. Obviously, there were some disappointing late goals that we've given up and that sort of thing, but we've managed to keep ourselves in it. And so, yeah, I think it has felt like that. Everybody's responded well to the sense of urgency, and that's something that will serve us well if we do manage to make the playoffs down the stretch here. Just having played those intense playoff atmosphere type games, whereas other teams toward the top have not had that same level of urgency that we've had for the last 2 months.
Yeah, you guys have sort of been in playoff mode well before the playoffs. I'm just curious, when you play under that kind of pressure for an extended period of time, it sort of has one of two effects, it seems, on people. Or it's actually like a spectrum where after a while you kind of just get fatigued where every game is like that must win. But at the other end of the spectrum, it's like it could be very motivating in the sense of just like, all right, let's go. Like we got to do this again. Where do you feel the team is falling on that spectrum in terms of like let's just do it once more, or is it like no, we got this, keep going?
Yeah, I mean, I think the trend has been overall more towards the former, that we're
Yeah.
motivated by it, and like I said, we've been responding well to it. I think we were a little bit fearful coming off of the Tampa game that maybe we were getting to that point, and we had 2 weeks off there, which was a respite for us. But at the same time, like, you kind of wondered like how we were going to come back in the next game, and like, was that 2 week gap going to be a problem for us more than it was good, because we were in such a rhythm. But even in that Birmingham game that we came back, we ended up drawing, and it was disappointing, but the performance was pretty good, and I felt like we kept the kind of the momentum going there. And I think last weekend was obviously massive, and one that we were not expected from the neutral eye to win the game. So we need to make sure that in the next 48 hours, as we prepare for Loudoun, that we're getting ourselves mentally reset. That's been the case all week, of course, but we can't hang our hats with 2 games to go. Like, it's not the time to stop short after we've put so much into fighting ourselves back into this season. It would be a shame if we were to let it slip now. And that's not to say the result will or will not go our way. It's just that we want to make sure we're showing up and we're putting our best foot forward, and that's all you can do at the end of the day. Whether we win or lose, you don't want to walk off the field on Saturday or next Saturday and say like, wow, we made it so far, and then we let our foot off the gas with just a little bit to go.
For sure. How are you guys feeling heading into this weekend, and anything you're expecting to see from Loudoun?
More of the same from them. I think they're a team with pretty good identity. You know what you're going to get. They showed really well at our place when we played them back in July. They're a ball-playing team, tons of skill, play really well collectively on the offensive side of the ball, but we feel like we also are a very organized team defensively. Other teams know that about us, and if we can kind of make them uncomfortable in the game, then we feel like there's going to be chances for us as well. It's definitely one of those teams that, you know, going in, it's going to be a tough game, a battle for our team mentally, just to stay in it, to stay with it. We're going to have to go all 90 minutes and make sure that we remain focused and persistent and diligent about like executing, because I think they will make it tough for us at times, and we have to accept that, but move on and say we're just going to keep doing our thing, and eventually I think we can find joy if we do that.
Love it. Robbie, as always, thanks so much for joining me. We always appreciate the time. Go get them on Saturday, will you?
Will do, Mike. Thanks.